Hello, I'm Richard from EVs and Beyond. Now, there's been an awful lot of discussion online in the last week about the BYD Atto 3 and corrosion. I'd kind of avoided doing anything on this issue, as to be honest, nearly 25 years of hanging around the automotive industry, I've seen lots of minor corrosion on a range of new vehicles from some very reputable brands. But with a few stories out there best described as a little clickbaity, I figured I should wade into the issue with some facts. Now, I'll start it by making it very clear. Your car is fine. Your car is safe. I have no concerns about my wife and daughter getting in our Atto 3 and driving down the road. Nor do I expect the car to be an issue in the years to come. Having said that, let's break down the issue. It all started with a Facebook post by Juan Cito Perez in Australia about a crashed car he purchased and began disassembling. One posted pictures of some light oxidation around the circumference of the holes of the tabs the front guards of the vehicle are bolted to. Now you notice the rings of oxidation are bright, making them likely newish or undeveloped. The car had been purchased a month and a half after the crash, and the post came over a month after that. Now, I believe this oxidation is real, but it's more complicated than that. We should also note the bonnet hinges and door hinges, which were less exposed in the crash, were unbolted, showing no corrosion. So if it is real, why is it there and is it a problem? To answer that, we need to discuss how oxidation can occur. Rust is a type of corrosion that occurs when iron or an alloy containing iron, such as steel, is exposed to water and oxygen. It's a chemical process in which the iron in the metal reacts with oxygen in the air to form iron oxide. The reaction that causes rust is known as oxidation. To prevent this exposure, most vehicles, including the Atto 3, BYD has confirmed this to me, are galvanized. Galvanizing involves coating the metal with a layer of zinc, which acts as a sacrificial anode. This means that if the metal is exposed to moisture and begins to rust, the zinc will corrode instead of the underlying metal, providing protection and extending the life of the part. BYD uses an electro-galvanizing process, which, while arguably not as good as hot dip galvanizing, is now by far the industry standard. Prior to painting, the car is immersed in an electrolyte solution containing zinc ions. An electric current is passed through the solution, causing the zinc ions to be attracted to the metal substrate and deposit onto its surface. The thickness of the zinc coating can be controlled by adjusting the duration and intensity of the current. Electrogalvanizing produces a thin, uniform layer of zinc coating that provides excellent corrosion resistance to the underlying metal. It is a more environmentally friendly process than other methods, as it produces less waste and uses less energy. Where this issue has occurred is one of a very small number of areas where that galvanization does not occur. This is because the car is largely assembled at this point, so surfaces bolted together will not get a coat. This is not normally an issue, as the two surfaces are clamped together, not allowing any substances in that will trigger corrosion. The galvanizing and other rust protections, BYD uses a wax-like substance around the tabs that have been oxidized in this case. Arguably, it is the Schrodinger's cat of automotive components. You don't know if it is corroded until you open the joint, but as soon as you do, the oxygen and humidity will rush in and begin the process. Here is my guess on what happened. The crash has stressed those mounting points and allowed oxygen in, and/or the vehicle has been sitting with the joints, even in a done-up state, exposed and not protected as normal by the bonnet, which has degraded the wax-based rust protection, or a combination of both. If that is not the case, and the corrosion was there earlier, it would likely be from an early contamination and is likely won't get worse. It is immediately surrounded by galvanized metal that will not rust and will have already completed all the reaction it can with the oxygen or contamination that caused it. It's important to restate that the door and bonnet hinges were unaffected. They are protected in the same way. I had the chance recently to look under my Atto 3, which has done 10,000 kilometers. I live 100 meters from the sea and we have had a lot of storms lately. As you'll see, there is not a lot to talk about under there other than some overzealous rust protection. Okay, so while I'm at Andrewson's, I've got the opportunity to look under the BYD for the first time, which is pretty cool. We've got it on a hoist here. So let's have a quick look through, and I'm wanting to have a look in context of the fact that we're hearing through some people on YouTube that supposedly this car has a bit of a rust problem. So if we go through the back, got the rear suspension set up here. Now, a lot of these early cars were covered in a rust protectant, so that's that brown paint that's over the rear suspension. That seems to be doing a pretty good job so far. I'm not seeing any oxidation on there. If I look up into the top here, I'm not seeing anything in there. Lots of sealant, All looks fairly clean, big plastic guards under here. Of course, we've got the great Blade battery. It's got like a composite floor on it. We've done 10,000 kilometers now, and I'm not seeing any marks or leaks or anything under here. It all looks really solid. All the screws and caps all seem to be well in place. Up here, we've got, again, nothing but rust protectant on the underbody protection, big plastic protection that sits underneath the motor as well. Looking up in here, again, no rust around the brakes, nothing up in the strut towers that I can see. A tiny bit on one of the ball joints, but that's expected. That's an exposed piece of wearing iron that they get replaced. It's fairly solid. I can't see anything that would indicate any issues here. Now, I'm aware that what we're talking about is hidden, but from what I'm seeing, the car looks fairly well covered up, fairly well rust protected. And I'm surprised at how little wear or scrapes or anything I'm seeing after 10,000 kilometers. My wife's probably been driving this very nicely. That, I'm sure, helps the situation. Now, in the interest of openness, we did find a tiny bit of corrosion on my car's body. This was on the rear bumper mount bolt attachment to the body. I spoke to an expert who told me the exact same theory as above. This joint is bolted, then sealed with silicone before the vehicle is electro-galvanized and painted. He explained a tiny amount of oxygen gets caught inside the sealant, and that can cause a tiny amount of surface discoloration, but then it runs out of steam. It should be noted that in all these cases, the other side of the steel is galvanized, adding to the chances of spread being incredibly minimal. Having taken the bolts off, the technician fitted the tow bar, coated the area in rust paint protection, and safely put the cat back in the box. So what does BYD have to say about this? We asked BYD New Zealand, who provided this statement. BYD Auto New Zealand has received no local reports for structural rust, and we cannot comment on a damaged car sitting in a wrecker's yard in another overseas market. New Zealand BYD vehicles are manufactured to the highest global quality standards and in brand new state-of-the-art, highly automated manufacturing facilities. All manufacturing is overseen by an extremely rigorous quality control system, which has enabled BYD to meet all global compliance testing required to obtain a 5-star ANCAP rating. In particular, the process undertaken when rust-proofing all BYD models during production is of the highest global standards, utilising the latest technological processes. BYD Auto New Zealand has a dedicated franchise panel repair network. Every time a vehicle goes through our panel shops, photos and records are taken and recorded on our central head office database. We are in constant communication with our factory. New Zealand customers can rest assured their vehicles are covered under our 6-year warranty. If BYD New Zealand owners have any concerns, they can visit our BYD dealers or authorised panel repair shops throughout New Zealand. Now, I think the key point there is the warranty. If there is a corrosion issue with these cars, and I do not think there is, then it will uncover itself on at least some vehicles before the warranty terms here in New Zealand expire. Also remember, BYD headquarters have been very attentive to information coming out of Australasia. I have little doubt they will be watching this and considering if they need to tweak the production process. So remember, they changed the BYD app after watching a video on this channel, so I wouldn't rule it out. Lastly, be careful what you read online and how you react to it. The electric vehicle community is thriving and energetic, but that can have downsides. Small issues get blown out of proportion, panic can set in, YouTube channels can post clickbait titles for views. So relax, you do not need to worry about corrosion at this point. You don't need to add a grill to protect your radiator, but you do need to click the subscribe button below to watch more from EVs and Beyond.